Yo. You know, the world of online animation is a pretty cool place. Being able to see the creative works of art small independent teams or lone individuals have come up with. Animation has been a backbone of online entertainment genuinely since its inception, through one means or another, and as an avid enjoyer of animation, it has always deeply inspired me and given me hours of enjoyment being able to see these works of creative passion. So, with all that being said, today I'd like to showcase to you a very special animated series to me personally, and I'm sure many others. One that I had previously made a video on about 4 years ago, and one that I can proudly say is the coolest internet cartoon that I have ever seen. A series about foxes and wolves alike, a tale of spaceships and slingshots, a comedy and a drama, an internet cartoon made mostly by one man. Today, let's wander the universe of Star Fox through the mind of modern-day Renaissance man Matthew Gafford, known only as a fox in space. So, for those unaware, just what the hell is a fox in space? Well, a fox in space is currently a duology, eventually to be a trilogy, of cartoons made by man of many talents Matthew Gafford, based on the Nintendo-owned Star Fox series. Though, trust me, is a fair bit different from its source material. Star Fox as a series is usually about the space mercenary team of Star Fox, ran by Fox McCloud and his friends Falco, Slippy, and Peppy, along with Rob64 and maybe Crystal depending on the game, who are almost always fighting against the forces of the planet Venom and its evil tyrant Andross. There's more to it, of course, like how they have a rival gang of mercenaries that work for anyone but usually work for Venom, called Starwolf, or how Fox was the son of James McCloud, the original leader of Star Fox, who was personally killed by Andross after his friend and now member of Starwolf, Pigma, betrayed him. It's a series of cool one-liners, big action scenes, and occasionally touching moments. It's a magical series, full of great gameplay, great stories, great characters, and in many ways, I would say is even greater than the parts that it's actually made up of, which is usually an on-rail space shooter, but that too can differ from game to game, as I'm sure many Star Fox fans will point out. All the same though, this is where a Fox in Space takes inspiration from. A universe of potential, creativity, full of a colorful cast of characters and ideas that Nintendo sadly don't utilize all that often. A Fox in Space is all at once a parody, a stylish retelling, a love letter to both Star Fox as well as various other series and films, and something entirely new. It's in equal parts funny and chill, as it is intense and full of drama. I guess to put it lightly, it's a lot wrapped up into what is currently 50 or so odd minutes of runtime. The series is also almost entirely made by one man. Besides some background elements, voice actors and the like, more than 95% of this cartoon currently has been made by Matthew Gafford, including the story, all the animation, the soundtrack, several voices in the cast. It's all done by this one man. A sort of creative showcase on nearly every front imaginable, outside of, like, cooking, I guess. of this man's creative imagination, and his ability to pick up a lot of skills as well. If this all sounds appealing or interesting to you, and you haven't had the chance to watch A Fox in Space yet, then I highly recommend it with all my heart and soul that you go and watch it. Even if you're not familiar with Star Fox as a series, it really doesn't matter, as the show stands on its own. But if you are a fan of Star Fox, like I am, then yeah, there's definitely some pretty cool references and Easter eggs you are sure to enjoy. I'm going to later discuss some spoilers about the series in my analysis portion of this video, and I don't want to spoil any of it for you. So the links to both episodes are in the description, as well as a general link to Matthew Gafford's channel. So please, if you haven't seen them yet, go and watch this duology of videos now, and then come back and I'll give you a little history lesson about this series creator, as well as my thoughts on the show as a whole. With all that being said, this is a series that I've been following the creation of since 2010, and it has a lot of history in both its conceptualization as well as its series creator's background online. So let's wander back in time for a bit and see where this all got started. Fredryk Phox was the internet moniker Matthew Gafford used to go by years and years ago. We're talking like back in the late 90s and early 2000s years ago. Before he was well known for making cool Star Fox related cartoons, Matthew used to be known as this weird, experimental, comedy skit internet video man.
Hi. I'm a cute cuddly little baby fur. Do you like to piss and shit?
Are you into pissing and shitting? By golly, I am. Huh. Well, if there's anything on there now, it's dead. Oh, snap, dog. Let's go Google my Jerry curl. Shit, nigga. Damn. That's fly.
As a matter of fact, these videos actually were Gafford's first little slice of internet fame, as these videos would be featured on the then very popular internet video website called Ebaumsworld, a site created and owned by Eric E. Bauman. The video would also be featured on yet another old internet video site known as Albino Black Sheep as well.
Let's split. We're done for. This is the big one.
You know what's sad? A lot of you would actually like to see this, you sick fuck. You know what? I have a big dick.
Now, it should be noted that the videos on Ebaumsworld were often stolen from other early content creators for profit, with no permission from said creators. Fredryk Phox was one of these creators, and he even made some videos at the time about this shitty situation, and just generally kind of mocking Eric Bauman.
Hey Eric.
Yeah?
Now I found this video off of the World Wide Web. Hey, I found this video off the World Wide Web. It's called monkeybuttfinger.avi. Anyway, it's this video of this monkey who puts his finger in his butthole and then he sniffs it.
That's pretty funny.
And, yeah, well, the main thing is that... God damn it, no neck, I fucking hate this. Is that he falls out of the tree because he sniffs his finger because, you know, it stinks really bad.
Yeah?
Your video is up on #1 humor site of internet.
Cool. Thanks, I guess.
You seriously never heard of my site?
Not until you mentioned it to me. Sorry. I don't really surf the net much. I just kinda swim around in it.
Lol. Okay, but don't say I didn't warn you. You're going to be famous.
Alright, I'll talk to you later.
Fred,
What?
it's gonna be alright, man. It's just, you got privacy.
I have no privacy.
No, I mean, there's an actual privacy.
I went to 7-Eleven today and the guy behind the counter told me I was funny. But I asked him why and he said something about my video on Ebaumsworld.com. This is 7-Eleven, man.
Though Fredryk Fhox, or Matthew, didn't really care all that much since by the time these videos reached Ebaumsworld and got the popularity they did, they were already 2 years old by that point, and Matthew had moved on to creating Flash animations and didn't ever really consider this content to be all that important. In fact, in his own words, they were simply made to amuse his friends back in the day where they were originally posted to his live journal. Needless to say, these early videos aren't really that relevant to this video, but they are interesting if only for the fact that they showcase Gafford has been swimming in the pool of the internet for some time. Many have even said that Fredryk Fhox was kind of one of the first viral internet stars, especially since these videos are mostly just a guy fucking around in front of his webcam. And by today's standards, it's, well, nothing special, but it is important to remember that this was one of the first types of videos like these. This kind of homemade, early YouTube skit funny man. Except Fredryk Fhox came way before YouTube, and in many ways might have even inspired some of the early internet comedians. He was a YouTuber before a YouTuber was a thing, or YouTube was a thing at all. It was the kind of content you were only ever gonna get from the internet. A guy just like you or me goofing around. It was kinda relatable. It was a little bit punk rock. It was a little bit lol random humor. It was just a wee bit edgy. It was the early internet incarnate, though obviously he, like us all, has evolved a little bit since then. These videos kind of have traces of the energy, the humor, and I guess for lack of a better term, aesthetic Matthew Gafford would come to be known for in his more ambitious works, of course, which is pretty interesting to see, but these things were never his passion. It was animation that Matthew was always truly creatively hungry to create, which, speaking of...
Well, if it isn't the froggy, the fox, and the bird thing.
Wait a second, bird thing? I told you, Wolf, I'm a goddamn...
Be cool, Fally. I know how to deal with these bozos. Oh, really? So, McCloud, can you shoot the very stars from the sky? No! Such is Star Wolf. Oh, wait, Star what?
What you're looking at is one of the first major clips of a fox in space that was ever released, all the way back in 2010. And if you're at all familiar with the series that we have today, this is, well, certainly very different than what it ended up being. See, back before the series was called A Fox in Space, it was originally called Star Fox the Animated Series. And that would later be changed because, well, I'm sure we all know how Nintendo deals with people putting love, passion, creative energy, and work into fan projects completely for free for the entertainment and joy of fellow fans. Why, they fully support and hire them, of course. Oh wait, that's Sega. Nintendo does, the opposite of that. But I digress. So for legal reasons, the series would later be retitled A Fox in Space, which, if I'm being honest with how different and unique Matthew's take on the Star Fox universe is, I kind of like it being called something else. It's something similar enough, but clearly its own thing. At any rate, back before the show was this dark yet comedic romp that we know today, it was originally envisioned as a musical. Something you can clearly see from this clip, obviously, which, a fun fact, the song here sung by Wolf seems to be inspired by this song from one of the animated Garfield films, where this rough and tough cat game named the Claws, well, sing about themselves.
Oh, wait, start what? Look out! Look out! Look out! Take heed! A beef with us is something that you don't need. You'll want to run away in 2 seconds flat, but we can't let you do that. Can't let you do that. Can't let you do that.
We bad with applause. We bad with applause. We bad. We tough. When it comes to fighting, we can't get enough. Better run on to your mom and your dad, 'cause we tough, but we bad with applause.
This original musical concept for the show can also be seen in quite a few of the early clips that Matthew made around it, like this Flash Gordon parody that was one of the concepts for the intro to the series.
Starfox. All ships check in.
Us, all heroes live.
McCloud's alive.
As well as this clip animatic of sorts, which seems to have served as an intro to the prologue episode of the series.
Waking up from a dream so tragically, slipping on my uniform so magically, looking out my window, there's not a cloud in the sky. I wish I could fly without the assistance of an NTD FX1 engine. No, sir, just me and my best friends, 3 of my best friends.
This is again all Gafford singing and composing the music, by the way, which is, well, pretty damn impressive. And I think that you'll find that no matter what point in Gafford's historied history of online content you happen to look upon, a consistent quality about the stuff he puts his energy and creative juices into is that it's usually pretty impressive, especially when one takes into account the time in which it was created. You'll probably notice that all these Star Fox characters look pretty damn different to their designs in both the games as well as the finalized concepts for how they look in the show. Many of them sporting a sort of anime-ish hairdo and looking a fair bit younger, which while certainly very different, I do actually think looks pretty decent with some characters. I actually kind of like Phox with this kind of spiked up hairdo, but there are other characters where I kind of feel like this style doesn't really work as well. Slippy in particular just looks weird with hair. And while this is a pretty cool interpretation of a younger Peppy, Peppy being the oldest of the bunch definitely does not read through this design. So overall, I do think Gafford improved the designs by sticking a little bit closer to their original game designs, but still, they are different enough from them that they kind of stand out on their own as well. On the whole, there are plenty of small snippets of out-of-context clips that he would make between 2010 to 2013 of this early concept for the show, most of which, funnily enough, involved Phox and Falco interacting with each other, showcasing their dynamic as well as the tone of the show.
Well, here they are, fellas. Wow. Those look awesome.
They look like something out of some stupid video game.
Falco, please stop being a fag.
Who are you calling a fag?
You ruined everything right when it starts to get cool. Come on.
Come on out, Wolf! We know you're here!
Dude, he knows we have guns. He's not gonna come out. Give the guy some credit, Jesus Christ.
Shut up. Who all's gonna be there? What? I said who is going to be there when we get there? Huh? God damn it, hold on. Okay, I was just saying, is there anyone else that's gonna be there, or do you even know?
Dude, I have no idea. Pepper just called me and told me to come pick you up.
I distinctly remember back in the day watching these clips over and over and over again and sharing it with my family and my online friends and pretty much everyone I could because I was so excited that this guy was making a cartoon about one of my favorite franchises. I've been a fan of the Star Fox series since I was around 9 or 10 years old. It's one of my all-time favorite series, and I love pretty much every single game in the franchise for different reasons. Ever since I first played Star Fox Adventures on the GameCube as a little kid, and yeah, that was where I started, this normally space shooting and spaceships affair franchise, I have loved the characters, the world, the idea of the Star Fox universe, and would engage in pretty much any type of content pertaining to it online. From fan game concepts that never went anywhere, to some that are going somewhere these days, to fan animations on both Newgrounds and YouTube, etc. And it's here through my rather obsessive need to see literally everything that was Star Fox back in the day, where I first discovered A Fox in Space back when it was meant to be this musical-based show. And I remember getting so hyped and excited for what this was going to be like when it was finished. See, I've always wanted Nintendo to make Star Fox a series that they visit and make new entries in more often. I'd always wished there was a Star Fox cartoon or movie, and I remember some of my very first creative projects and first sparks of creative energy as a kid and teen were used creating badly written, but still passionately made Star Fox fanfiction. I even wrote a whole 26 episode outline for what a Star Fox cartoon would be like, and I remember incorporating every single planet in the Lilac system, and which planets there was spend more than one episode on, and which ones they would spend only an episode or a little bit on. And I even included the dinosaur planet Orsaria as well, so that Crystal could get into the plot as well. And then, and I am dead serious about this, I then outlined a 7-book series of the Chronicles of Star Fox, and came up with all these new villains and lore for Fox and crew to face, like the master of the mysterious black hole that, well, there's always kind of conflicting lore about, named Galatheron Dreadmire. All of which are things that I wrote down really basic ideas for, and that I never even came close to finishing, of course. Because I eventually decided to start working on some of my own original stories, and I just didn't have the know-how, the skills, the confidence, or the ability to commit to an actual idea for any of my ideas to be anything but just simply dreams, never meant to be reality back then. I guess you could say I had a lot to learn, a lot of growing up to do. But needless to say, anytime I see someone taking the time to create something more ambitious and interesting with this franchise, I feel a kind of kindred spirit, and a wave of happy nostalgia washes over me. And something about these early clips of Fox and Falco mucking about and talking with each other, while simple and not nearly as impressive as the stuff Gafford is doing now, inspired a lot of faith for me in this project. Something about the way Gafford wrote and voiced the dialogue, it just felt different from any other version of these characters I had read, watched, or played before, and I just couldn't wait to see where it was all going to go. Of course, I would end up waiting quite a while. However, by 2013, you can start to see the transition the show and Gafford's style look a bit more familiar, with this quick clip that feels like an in-between the first episode of A Fox in Space and the original musical style character designs of old. By 2015, though, Gafford would start showing clips from what would become episode 1 of the series, his style and skills with animation for that matter having advanced quite clearly, and the tone became a fair bit darker than previously as well, especially in this early animatic, which features a cutscene from the first episode, and is evidence of the plot perhaps being pretty different from the one we ended up getting, unless this was just made as a test or something. I'm not entirely sure. But either way, at this point, only Gafford knew the whole plot of what episode 1 in this series would be, since all of the clips that had been made available up to this point were all kind of out of context. And it's clear that Gafford was both finding his own style, the tone that he wanted for the show, but was also experimenting an awful lot, and was also trying to find the right story or the right way to tell the stories that he had in his mind. Anyway, here's the animatic for the scene that never made the cut.
Where's Lombardi and the rest of them?
Captain Fox McCloud, serial number 3019.
With the rest of your friends, shitty.
Captain Fox McCloud, serial number...
Oh, that's real fucking cute. Yeah, that's right. You fucking remember me? Turn around, asshole. I want to see your face. O'Donnell, he's for the Emperor, you idiot. Wait! I said turn around. I want to see your face when I'm talking to you. Andross wants you bad. I'm sure you already know that. What do you... Shut up. Worse than death, what he's got planned for you. I don't want to describe it, and you're honestly better off not knowing. Run while you can, man. Or hell, off yourself, I don't know. Go ahead and call your little buddies and have them come pick you up.
Hey, my communicator's fried.
And I'm sure you'll find a way to fix it. You are the great Fox McCloud, after all.
Hey, Wolf. Thanks, I think.
Don't thank me, kiddo. I'm just saving you for later. If anyone's gonna tan your hide, it's gonna be me. And don't you fucking forget it.
Several more scenes will be showcased throughout 2015 and early 2016, including Matthew showing himself recording the characters' voices for Fox and Wolf in a small conversation, of which both I'd say sound pretty iconic by now.
Wait, should I hang myself? Where are you taking me?
Come on, you know it's for everyone's safety. Don't touch the bars.
Safety? I was on my way to a memorial to pay my respects. Wings closed, weapons non-deployed. What did you even hit me with? I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah, that's just a little upgrade. These guys just didn't want to take any chances.
Then, the day had finally arrived, on April 25th, 2016, when A Fox in Space, Episode 1, Don't Call Me Starfox, was finally released via YouTube. It had taken around 6 years, but Matthew had done it, and it was cool as fucking shit, dude. So, the plot of Episode 1 is about Fox McCloud being ambushed and captured by Wolf O'Donnell and Andross's forces, so that he can be brought before the Great Emperor Andross for unknown reasons. That's the basic idea, the premise for the episode. In execution, the episode opens as if it's in the middle of a pre-established series, with a whole last time in A Fox in Space, which would have been an episode about the Fortuna mission from Star Fox 64. But already there are some clear characterizations and lore set up about these versions of these characters, like that of Andrew, the nephew of Andross, being a bunkie in the academy of Fox McCloud when he was younger, to Fox visiting a spot on the planet of Papatoon, which is connected to the lore of the old Nintendo Power Star Fox comics, by the way, the same day every year, to Wolf and Fox having some sort of background that is yet to be established, to the tone of the before and after battles, with Fox and Falco and Slippy happily playing video games before the mission, very nonchalant and confident, to Wolf and his crew hanging out at some bar licking their wounds, trying to think of a plan to capture Fox McCloud so that they don't get on the wrong side of Andross. It's all so fast but perfectly put together, and is a stroke of real creative genius as a means of quickly setting up the scenario for the episode. in both a stylish and informative fashion. We then pretty quickly get to the episode title card and intro theme song, both of which having nods to the original SNES universe of Star Fox, which makes this series a really nice combination of the dark atmospheric universe of the SNES version of Star Fox with the more, some might say, iconic universe of Star Fox 64. They both take place in the same universe, of course, that being the Lylat system, but stylistically there's some pretty significant differences between them. The opening is this cool jazzy remix of this Star Fox theme song, which mixed with the way the intro is cut and the filters applied reminds me a little bit of Cowboy Bebop, although the general structure of the intro is way more relaxed than Cowboy Bebop's. From here, there's a pretty long scene of Phox being behind bars as he's informed he's going to be presented before Andross, Wolf loving every single minute of being able to tease his rival. It's a good mixture of dark comedy and just plain old good character writing, as the conversations between these two feel very natural. I don't want to break down every single scene outright, but throughout the rest of this episode, Gafford's version of Wolf is without a doubt the best version of this character that has ever been created. He's funny, he's charismatic, he's petty, a bit intimidating, and just so fucking cool.
Alright, I waited till we were alone to ask this. That's me being nice. Can I see your legs?
You're serious?
Well, you know, people talk, word gets around. I'm genuinely curious.
Can't you just take my word for it that I don't have robotic legs?
I'd really like to, but can't you just do it for me just this once? I've got to know for sure. Am I even gonna need this?
No.
Okay. Because you know if you try anything, I can just break your neck, right?
Whatever, I'm not gonna be a problem.
Which makes for a great contrast with Phox McCloud, who I also think shines here as the straight and narrow, keeps his nose clean, very talented pilot who pretty much is the opposite of Wolf in most ways, making for a wonderful dynamic.
Next stop, Sargassum Lounge. Enjoy your stay.
Jesus, floor is freezing.
Well, have some whiskey with me. That should warm you up a bit.
Thanks, but I don't drink.
That is so cute.
I especially love the scene when they get to the Sargasso bar and Phox makes a big scene about people referring to him as Star Fox rather than his real name, Phox McCloud, which pisses off everyone in the bar, especially since quite a few of them work for Andross and have been directly fucked over by Phox, and Wolf has to try to cover for his ass.
For God's sake, my name is Phox McCloud. Star Fox is my team, not my name.
Everything is just fine. I've got it all under control. Just recommence with the festivities.
Absolutely perfect. There are also some nice scenes of Falco, Slippy, and Peppy trying to find out where Phox is, and it allows their chemistry to shine some as well, though it's clear they're not exactly the main focus of this episode. The animation here is also great. All the characters are very expressive, and there's even a bit of Ralph Bakshi-esque rotoscoping early on in this episode. The way the lighting and color wraps around, and in some cases colors over the line art along with the film grain and the use of real backgrounds and colored effects as the backgrounds, it all gives the whole thing a bit of an old 80s VHS tape aesthetic. Not a Disney movie, mind you, but an underground cult animated film that was geared a little bit more towards a more mature adult crowd. In fact, this episode's look and the show's art style in general reminds me of one of my all-time favorite animated films of this ilk called Rock and Rule, which was this badass, super stylish, very much adult animated film that was way ahead of its time. Had this amazing villain, and sadly kind of got shafted pretty hard. But that's a story maybe for another time. But anyway, it's clear that there were a lot of different influences Matthew took from and made his own here. And I can tell he has a real appreciation and understanding of animation, and it truly reflects in his own work here. By episode's end, we do get to see Andross in the flesh, who, might I say, Gafford not only draws in a very distinct, visually striking way, but also gives him one of the coolest voices ever. In fact, I also think this is the coolest voice Andross has ever had. If Nintendo was a cool company, they would, let Matthew Gafford just make a fucking Star Fox cartoon, give him all the budget he needs, and additionally let him play Wolf O'Donnell and Andross in the next Star Fox game, which has the same budget as Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. But I digress.
Fox McCloud, where are my manners? So exhilarating to finally meet you in person.
Oh, I can guarantee you the exhilaration's all mine.
Episode 1 is 13 minutes, but firmly establishes Matthew Gafford's version of Star Fox pretty damn well, and allows one's imagination to go wild where it will all go next and how his version of events differ from canon, which of course got me and a hell of a lot of other people very excited for what was to come next. So much so that when Matthew put up a Patreon shortly before episode 1 came out for supporting his streams and creative projects, a ton of people, fans and cool people in general, came in to support him, allowing Matthew to be able to work full time on the next episode of this series. People were blown away at the one-man show that was a Fox in Space, and Matthew had far more than a proof of concept to gain people's confidence. But more than that, Matthew's amazing, and let me emphasize, fucking stunning Starlight across the Lilat system levels of work ethic was on full display through both his frequent Patreon updates, clips from his show on the channel, and perhaps most importantly, his live streams over on Twitch, where he would stream himself through the entire process of animating this cartoon. Sometimes it was an 8-hour workday, other times it was closer to a 16-hour workday. The dude is, and I mean this in the nicest of terms, a fucking maniac. I've lurked around his streams from time to time, trying not to have everything spoiled, but occasionally coming in to see what he's up to. And at all times, Matthew has been very upfront about his work, about his creative decisions, his limitations, and where he wanted to improve, and how much he appreciated people's support for his project. Especially as before this man of so many talents, an animator, a writer, a director, a voice actor, an editor, a composer, a streamer, an artist in every sense of the word, before he had people's support to be able to fulfill his dreams, the dude was working at a gas station, cleaning toilets to make a living. He was a high school dropout, drawing cartoons in his free time. And look, there's nothing wrong with an honest day's work, and I don't disparage anyone for that at all. But I am so glad that we live in an age where the internet has allowed genuinely talented people like Matthew the chance to create their works of art, to be ambitious, to express themselves while still making a living through the generosity and support of others. Because while yes, it is an honest day's work, working at a gas station, I think I speak for most everyone when I say that Matthew was clearly meant for better. I distinctly remember when episode 1 came out, I was in community college, an English major with a lot of paperwork to do. YouTube was something I was doing on the side as a creative outlet, but it wasn't really taking it seriously at all. And seeing someone I had been watching create this thing for such a long time finally make it, finally get their start, and get the attention I always knew that they deserved, it was so inspiring to me. It's why I eventually ended up making that old video with a terrible microphone 4 years ago as a means of expressing my love for the project and sending further support, since I didn't have any job or real consistent way of supporting him via Patreon, so I figured it was the best that I could do. If only I knew back then that as good as episode 1 is and was, that the best had truly yet to come. That episode 2, a project that would end up being a 40-minute epic, would take 7 years to create, was gonna blow episode 1 out of the water. Fox in Space, Episode 2, Fixing a Hole, finally released March 25th of 2023. And let me tell ya, its plot is definitely much more complex than Episode 1's, with it primarily revolving around James McCloud and Peppy Hare going to Venom to get some information. This episode taking place 10 years before the events of Episode 1, in a kind of clever retelling of the prologue of Star Fox 64, where James would come to be betrayed by Pigma and fall into the clutches of the then new ruler of the planet Venom, the exiled doctor from Corneria, Andross. While on the side, there's also a secondary plot about a teenage Wolf O'Donnell going on a night out with sorts with his girlfriend Farah and a very young kid Fox McCloud. This episode is full of both great comedy, just as the first episode had, and wonderful character interactions, but it also has immense heapings of drama, tragedy, and suspense. On one hand, you have this story of James McCloud's tragic past coming back to haunt him, as he falls into a trap as a pawn in a far larger game than he is aware of, trying his best to survive. And then you have the story about these two thugs trying to get information on the then new R-Wing ships from Rob 64 and Dr. Beltino in a comedic parody of the old Nintendo Power Star Fox 64 promotional VHS.
Word on the street is you got a new Nintendo 64 game coming out. Could you be a little more specific?
We got a lot of new games coming out. Star Fox 64. Test pilot boy. You want to know about Star Fox 64, eh?
Yeah, and you'd better tell us all you know. Or else.
Or else what?
Word on the street is Space Dynamics got a new ship coming out.
Well, could you be a little more specific? We got a lot of new ships coming out. The R-Wing. Oh, so you want to know about the R-Wing, eh?
Yeah, you better tell us all you know. Or else.
Or else what?
You might think that these tones would conflict with one another, but they don't, as they all smoothly flow into each other. A comedy scene flows into an intense confrontation, flows into a comedic scene, flows into teenage angst, flows into space politics, flows into comedy again. It's all delightfully constructed and written so well, with three main acts to this episode's story. As a matter of fact, while it is episode 2, in many ways it's kind of like 3 episodes in one. It also opens the same way the first one does, with this seemingly being placed in the middle of a pre-established series, and allowing all the pieces to be put in place from the beginning of the episode, along with a far more bombastic intro reflecting the darker and more intense nature of said episode from the last. The character interactions are once again a highlight of this episode, with James McCloud and Peppy Hare coming off as genuinely good friends, with a real sense of past with one another. I love how Peppy calls him Jim as well.
It was just a long time ago. I made a mistake. Pepper made it go away.
And that's why you owe him one.
Yeah.
Something worth sending us to Venom over.
You don't have to go, you know. I can find someone else.
Now, Jim, I didn't mean it like that. I just have a bad feeling on this one. I think you do, too.
That's part of the job. And if I'm right, we won't even know what this one really is until we're right in the thick of it.
James in general is a highlight in this episode, for a few reasons. Matthew's voice really gives the character a certain inflection, that of a tired, seen it all before, seen too much tragedy perhaps in his life type of guy, but he's also sure and confident of himself, which mixes good with the dynamic of him also being worried about his son's future and the past that still haunts him. And there's a few scenes in particular where he shines, with one standout being where he confronts the two thugs threatening Beltino's life with his signature weapon in this show, a slingshot.
Spill it.
Oh dear. Oh! Oh.
Oh, I wish you would.
Oh. Oh, God. Sonny, I can't feel my face. Oh.
Is that,
funny.
A slingshot?
I can't feel my
What?
face.
You're gonna put my eye out? With a rubber ball?
They'll be picking it out of the wall behind you if you cut him.
Oh. Oh.
Whatever happens, it's going to be your fault.
I love this as a concept. It's just so unique. It doesn't give him an immediate weapon that kills people like a gun. It's only a slingshot. But the inflection in his voice, confidence, it seems like it could potentially be used for killing people. I love how the one thug seems to underestimate that James could do anything with a mere slingshot. And it's entirely the expression on James' face, as well as Matthew's tone here, that sells that yes, he went easy on the first thug, and the next slingshot will be the kill if he dares cut Beltino. Speaking of these two thugs, they actually have names, Sonny and Sagan, a bandicoot and a hedgehog respectively, and they are also, as you might imagine, nods to Sonic and Crash Bandicoot. And as their own original characters, they're pretty funny and a great duo. I especially enjoy the scene after they left and Sonny calls Captain Shears, who, might I add, is a villain from the official Star Fox manga that takes place between 64 and adventures called Star Fox Farewell Beloved Falco, and is a fan favorite. Gets a call from these hired goons.
Cracked open.
James McCloud.
Yeah, no shit. The Star Fox guy.
Was he alone? So they're already leaving then. That's alright. I have another card in play.
Hey, so, we still getting paid?
For what, exactly?
You smug sacker. I swear to...
So, are we still getting paid?
Yeah, we still getting paid?
Ow!
In this same scene, you also get to see a young Falco and his family dynamic, which again showcases just how much Matthew stuffs stuff into scenes. Every scene is stuffed with references, fun character moments, story progression. It all moves with a purpose. As the story leads into the next act, with James and Peppy off on their secret off-the-record mission to Venom. Andross securely making every political move that he needs for taking full control of planet Venom, and finally Wolf and Fair having a moment together, talking about reputations, their relationship, etc.
Look, I'm just not Cornerian Premier's daughter's boyfriend material, Farah. And when he gets in office, you know he's just
You've never even met him. He'd love you.
He's probably gonna hook you up with some dandy cadet.
A dandy cadet?
Yeah, a dandy cadet.
Okay, that's it. That's gonna be the name of my first ship.
You better not.
I love that Wolf was this punk goth rebel boy guy, complete with a Joy Division poster, and this devil-may-care attitude. It all just feels right. This makes sense to be Gafford's younger version of Wolf, which connects nicely into Wolf's strict father and the very young Fox McCloud, who from a young age is already extremely smart, is a whiz at video games, and has an interest in technology and spaceships. He has his life set out ahead of him, a bright future. Pretty much the opposite of the older Wolf, who lost his eye, can no longer legally fly a spaceship for the Academy or whatever, and who has a rather disconnected and estranged family. This creates a deeper connection to their rivalry, it in particular being very one-sided at the start, with them kind of having this older and younger brother type dynamic. It sets up emotions and what I'm sure will be a great emotional payoff in a future episode 3. In particular, the line Wolf says to Fox in both episodes, "You know I'm your biggest fan."
You trying to cut in on my girl, little man?
No.
You must like them older women, huh?
No.
The ones that got that rugged, aged beauty.
Whoa.
Weathered by years of experience beyond your own.
You're being mean.
Those tired breaths.
Stop.
I'm just cutting up with him. Ain't that right, kiddo? You know I'm your biggest fan. Hey, kiddo. You remember me? Your biggest fan.
The way he says it, the accompanying smile, the sarcasm, the way there might be just a little grain of truth to it through all the sarcasm. It perfectly lays out the two's relationship from both their youth and their adult years. And if I was a betting man, I feel like the moment Wolf says that line in episode 3 is gonna be a pretty important one. That's just speculation, of course, but just you wait a few more years and I promise you, my speculation will be correct. Now, something that I've yet to get into is something pretty crazy that Matthew did while creating episode 2. Something that makes the quality of episode 2 about 20 times better than the first one. He learned how to use Blender. It took Matthew around 4 years to animate 20 minutes of this episode by himself, which is a pretty big feat and pretty good progress. Especially since he was the only guy doing it, you know, that's damn impressive. But eventually Matthew wanted to improve his skills, be more consistent, get more done quicker. So he took a calculated risk and stopped using the various art programs that he was employing and was very much used to up until that point, and decided to learn the extremely powerful but very complex and time-consuming to learn Blender, which while usually used for making 3D models and the like, can also be used to make 2D cartoons and animations with a tool called Grease Pencil. This is a pretty powerful tool because it allows you to create 3D spaces and models in the program, and then you can draw 2D characters within that space. Since it's a 3D space, you can move the camera to any angle at any time as well. Additionally, you can also use the program's lighting features to help make shading and lighting just a hell of a lot easier. However, I think this is something that is best shown to you rather than explained. So I'll show you this side by side of probably one of my favorite scenes in this episode. That being when James is on the Venom train. He knows shit has gone awry, and that to push forward is falling into a trap. It's why he tells Peppy to stay where he is, that he'll go it alone from here. He eventually has a conversation with Desler Koba, one that involves what happened to James' wife years ago, the mess General Pepper alluded to getting James out of at the beginning of the episode. Information that both General Pepper and Andross desperately want over something. It's the entire crux of the episode. And at this point, after Koba seems to have suddenly died, two lemur twins by the name of Ekblade and Ekblade walk into the scene. Here is what that scene looked like via a clip preview a few years back when he was using his normal art programs before Blender.
Captain, your friend looks tired. We were informed that you carry a sort of improvised shooting instrument. Please place it on the table and calmly step away.
I might need some help with that.
Your compliance, Captain. I do not want a fuss.
I don't want to kill you, Ekblade. You know I'm walking off this train.
My partner seems to think that
I know what he said.
Now here's what that same scene looks like when he remade it utilizing Blender.
Captain, your friend looks tired. We were informed that you carry a sort of improvised shooting instrument. Please place it on the table and calmly step away.
I might need some help with that.
Your compliance, Captain. I do not want a fuss.
I don't want to kill you, Ekblade. You know I'm walking off this train.
My partner seems to think that
I know what he said.
The more dynamic camera shots, the 3D terrain and moving environments in the background, the more consistent and more expressive looks from both James and the twins. It was intense before, but this is on a whole other level, and is, on an objective level, better in every sense of the word. There is also this money shot of sorts that shows James walking through the train on his way to this scene, again all rendered in Blender, and to put it bluntly, it looks fucking sick and is super impressive. There is also some genius directorial choices seen throughout this episode, the first of which being kind of just this cool scene where we see a media head on Venom interview Andross on why he should be elected premier on Venom.
The sick children's lives only I am saving. I'm the only one that's ever going to make all of these changes a reality, and I give you my word they'll be made within one term.
The only one? And what qualifies only you to make all this happen in one term?
It's simple, really. Only I have the brains to rule Lilat.
Can we get the audience?
Only I have the brains to rule Lilat.
Fuck, that line read and reference goes so goddamn hard. Or the scene where Wolf tells Farah to watch the skies, after being very vague about why he wants her to take him to this air hangar he no longer has access to. Farah, as well as perhaps the audience, all kind of waiting to see what surprise he has in store for her. Will he write something sweet out in the skies or something corny like that? Will he soar around and just kind of show off one last time? Well,
he's not supposed to fly out that far. Oh, that's far. Where's he, do you guys know where he's going? He just said he was gonna show off a little bit. Farah, he is coming back, right?
the expressions, the silence, the cut to black, it's perfect. Farah comes to understand why he wanted to get into a ship. That this was him saying goodbye to her. That he was abandoning her. And he wanted her to look to the skies so she could see him one last time. It's brutal. And while it's clearly gut-wrenching for her by the revelation's end, I love how at first it's painted in a kind of whimsical light. This being one of the first times Phox McCloud has been able to see a spaceship so close and fly off like that. You might even say it was one of the first times he thought about being a pilot. It's all just so beautiful. Finally, then we have this scene that I just showed you before of the Lemur brothers. Now, first, I want you to hear part of this track from Star Fox 64. Now notice how it's used in this scene.
Final warning. Detritus.
The gunshots line up perfectly with the two stings in the track. It's just so damn cool, man! Now, the episode ultimately does end on a cliffhanger, and James' ultimate fate is surprisingly left a mystery for now. And more questions are actually brought up here, especially regarding the experiments and the gate that was opened that both James and Andross are aware of, leaving me quite hungry for more and so very excited for episode 3. I could go on a while longer, but I think you kind of get point. But again, I do want want to note that part of the reason I brought up the whole Blender facts is because Matthew took basically a whole year to learn how to use it to full capacity. With that year, he only was really able to finish about a minute's worth of animation. However, once he learned how to use it, how to fully grapple with all its tools, the man started exploding content out. Remember how I said it took him 4 years to animate 20 minutes of animation, and how that was pretty damn impressive? Well, for episode 2, using these new tools, it took him only 2 years to animate the rest of the cartoon. That's the same amount of animation, but better in half the time. I realize I might be starting to sound like a bit of an ad for Blender, but I just wanted to point this out because it shows how Matthew has, again, continued to evolve his style, his skills, and just in general get better, work smarter, and grow as a creator. And now with episode 3, he finally has a fair bit of help this time around. Of course, he did end up getting some help with episode 2 as well, especially a fair bit more compared to episode 1. Within the last month or so, he has already almost animated a full minute from episode 1, which again is insane and gets me so excited to see what is going to happen next, as well as makes me so happy that he's found a way to produce even better content in less time. In closing, A Fox in Space is an amazing duology of animation, passion, creativity, and direction that I believe you owe it to yourself to check out. I really can't sing its praises enough, and while episode 3 is probably quite a ways off, you can still catch Matthew, like I said, on most days on Twitch working on it. He's also taken it upon himself to help others learn the program of Blender, and as a self-taught artist, he is always willing to give advice and give his insight on how he figured this stuff out. I may not have had the cash back then, but I'm more than happy to say that now that Matthew is one of the few people that I back financially on Patreon, it's the least I can do for someone who has been entertaining me and inspiring me for over 10 years. So, thank you, Matthew Gafford. May A Fox in Space 3 and your eventual other projects be successful and badass. I know I'll be there to see them, share them, and support them each and every time. And that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that you enjoyed this episode of Wandering the Web. As soon as I saw the second episode of A Fox in Space, I just knew I had to do an episode of Wandering the Web on it sometime soon. And I hope if you haven't seen it yet that I convince you to give it a try. Before I go though, I do want to announce a few quick things regarding my Patreon channel memberships and my Discord server going forward. First of all, my Discord server is now public and open for anyone to join in. Usually every weekend to every other weekend, we've been doing Channel Awesome video creators watch parties where I watch a bunch of videos, usually the beginning ones of some kind of Channel Awesome or that guy with the glasses related content creator, and take notes and, comment along the way. For research for the Channel Awesome retrospective. So if you want to get in on that, or just hang out with me and the gang, then be sure to click the link down below. Secondly, you may not be aware, but I am now making at least one exclusive Patreon and channel membership video every single month. Now, don't expect these to be gigantic, super highly edited videos like on the main channel. All that stuff is still completely here for free. But there's going to be a lot of smaller, more tailored niche content on there that you may still be interested in. Such as right now, I am currently doing a reading of the Sonnet.exe remake, the official remake, of which part 1 is already up, where I read the first 3 chapters and commentate along the way. And part 2 will be coming out later this month. And speaking of patrons and channel members, I want to also take this opportunity to thank all my loyal patrons and channel members, including all my lovely night eggs and night owlets, as well as a special thank you to all of my great night owls, such as Channel 11, Hex Maniac Hannah, Tony Terramaya, Justice, Ho Hot, Star Punch Gaming, and the very recent Tyler the Leper, as well as a super duper special thank you to all of my arch owls, including the Gun-Toting Thursday, the Fearless Forgotten Ace, the Super Saiyan Sword, the Insightful Daniel and Talented Doggy NGT, and the Good Chi Vibes Zen Garden Party. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel, and thank you all for watching this video. So, until next time, this has been Dylan the Night Owl, flying off.